We are back with another episode of my podcast, of course. Today's guest is Luminous. He is a FGC and D&D Tic-Tocker. He is one of my mods in my Discord, and he's a good buddy of mine. So I hope you enjoy the podcast. We do a lot of talking about fighting games and a lot of talking about D&D, so enjoy.
Now, oh, you do this live?
Well, no. I'm doing this live. Also, no. But yes, we are actually recording right now.
Oh, okay.
Luminous, Zeno, Justin, whatever I want to call you. Thank you for doing this. This has been a couple, 2 months now. We've been trying to get you on here, trying to figure this out. Yeah. First off, thank you so much for being here. I guess the important thing is how I do this with everybody is how did you get into TikTok? Why did you choose TikTok as a platform?
Oh, that's a good question. First of all, thanks for having me for just
sure.
as a heads up. But how did I get started on TikTok? So I downloaded TikTok as a way to kind of just scout because I knew I wanted to do content creation. It's like in my bones. I've been consuming content ever since I was a kid on YouTube, stuff like that. I would make like small little YouTube videos, and that's all gone. That's lost in time. But right now, I was like, well, let's get back in it. Checked out TikTok, saw the small form, kind of like quick videos, and I was like, oh, this is my style 100%. I'm kind of a guy, like, I like to give the best information first, and I really don't like the whole, like, okay, now I'm going to stall for 5 minutes, so that way we can get, the revenue of, like, for like YouTube or something like that. Like, I'm kind of just like, I'm going to say what I have to say, and then I'm dipping. See you later.
Okay.
So I saw that, and I was like, yeah, TikTok is probably one of the best platforms for that kind of content.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to nerd out somewhere because, I enjoy the discourse. I enjoy talking to people online about just nerdy stuff, D&D, fighting games, all that stuff. So...
No, for sure. You have I know that I added you, or did I add you first on TikTok, or did you find my Discord first? I don't know which one. One of those happened first.
Right. So I found you on TikTok, and I was like, oh, this guy's doing exactly like kind of similar, or like what I wanted to do. So I was like, oh, this is lit. So I joined the Discord after,
Okay.
and I think we met through that.
Yeah, I know. My main mod was like highly excited. Apparently you talked to him slightly, Dark, and he is like, Phil, you need to talk to this guy immediately. And I'm like, okay. I think we had you jump into voice like a voice chat, like it was like your first day or two in the server. You made waves immediately, good friend. You made waves immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a mostly, I don't want to say this is only about fighting games, but this is a fighting game channel. People are coming here for fighting games for the most part, but I don't even know what your like favorite few fighting games are. Like, give me your fighting game origin story.
Got you. I'm gonna give the people what they want.
Yeah.
So my fighting game origin story. So I'm sure everyone had a similar story to this, whether you have like an older brother or a sibling that would bully you into playing fighting games. That's exactly what happened to me. So I had a childhood friend that I'm still very good friends with to this day. He's awesome. And I would go over to his house because his family would basically babysit me while my parents were working. And my friend's like, yo, like, hop on Marvel vs. Capcom 2 right now. And I was like, what? I was like, what? I saw Spider-Man on the screen, and instantly as a kid, I was like, oh yeah, I'm playing Spider-Man. I don't care about anyone else. Because, I was a huge Spider-Man fan. Still am. But, like, I get my butt beat. Like, just all the time. He would just be doing combos on me, and I was mashing. I didn't know which button did what. When I figured out how to do the webs, that was, like, an important thing for me. So that was, like, my first fighting game that I remember. I have stories of my dad telling me that he basically forced me to play Street Fighter 2 Turbo with him, just so he could play Chun-Li and do the mashing kicks against me. So for the longest time, I was always like the fighting game punching bag. And
I think we all were at one point. I think that kind of happens where all of us are the person we get beat up on, and eventually we move past it.
It's like a rite of passage.
Yeah,
It's
like
an
you kind of have to get
indoctrination.
beat up on a little bit, and I enjoyed my time. I remember like screaming at my cousin, like, "You're cheating!"
Yeah,
Him and
and
his Baraka bullshit.
whenever you beat a character or take a round, they're like, "Oh, I wasn't looking. Sun's in my eyes. Controller's not working."
Yeah.
Like the works. They put, yeah, good times. But yeah, I was indoctrinated, and at that point, I kind of had a short obsession with fighting games as a kid. I played a lot of Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat is actually the fighting game series that I put the most time into to this day.
Like over time.
Mhm. I've been playing MK since I was like 12, and I was playing. My favorite at the time was Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Okay.
Because my family was like, well, I'm not going to get you the newest one, but I'll get you like the classic collection for like $20. So I would play like the OG Mortal Kombats and just have an absolute blast. I remember like fighting Reptile for the first time in MK1 and like all this good stuff, and I just enjoyed it. And I think the biggest thing for me was like the aesthetics. It was all like ninjas and Spider-Man and doing flips up in the screen, Magneto just flying up and above, stuff like that. And I think that's true to this day. I think a lot about fighting games for me is just like, when you look at the game, it's just so damn pretty,
A lot of those games, like I think that's part of the reason why I struggled so much with like Street Fighter as a kid, because it didn't look great like compared to some of the other fighters. Like Mortal Kombat had that really cool, like almost human-esque aesthetic, and at least Marvel versus Capcom had like more what is the word I'm looking for? Out there colors. You know what I mean? Like very.
It had swag.
Yeah, there was like a certain level to it. And it just really like brightened your day, I guess. But I don't know. I really struggled with Street Fighter as a kid. But yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom. I didn't even think about that. But the color scheme is just. It really was 90s, and it made you want to be a kid. Like it was like, yeah. There's the whole night. I don't know. There's something really special about Marvel vs. Capcom. What else? Like throughout the years, let's move a little bit farther into like your adulthood, like teenagers years. So what are we going on here? Did you continue playing or?
So I stopped for a bit. I became a Call of Duty a-hole for a while.
We all did. We all did.
In your teenagers years, you gotta hop on with the boys.
Master Halo, but it's the same difference.
Yeah, same difference. Yeah. But like, I was into FPSs for a while. And the thing about FPS is just about like the camaraderie. Like, that's when you had friends to play with, and you played online. And I would always like bring up fighting games as a kid, and the people that I like talked to, they would be like, "Yeah, like we could play," and then usually like I'd beat them.
Yep.
And they'd just be like, "This isn't fun for me anymore because I'm losing," and I was like, "All right, fair."
I had so many people that just refused to play Tekken with me while growing up. It's like, no, Phil. Like you and that dude with the sword is unfair.
That is a real. I want to talk about that at least at some point in this podcast. I want to talk about that because that's a real phenomena that I feel like a lot of people get stuck with growing up.
Being the one when you're being the one guy in your group of fighting game friends. That is,
exactly.
Yeah, I have a whole series about it on TikTok because it's so relatable. It's so relatable because we've all gone through it. Like every single one of the scenarios I've had, either I've done to somebody or someone's done with me. I was playing Smash, like, I think 2 years ago. I was playing Jigglypuff, and he was playing King K. Rool, and he was doing the same couple things, and I just knew how to get past them every single... Like, how do you keep on... Well, you're doing the same thing to me. And that was my most recent video, and, like, exploded on TikTok recently. So, yeah, it's crazy, like, how so many people that you learn to hate facing you. You know what I mean? Like, no, we're not facing you, Phil. So, like, that's why, like, we need to have the FGC. So you have a place to go to have someone else beat your butt. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. But back to basically my formative years. So I played COD for a while. Then MK9 came out. So I had skipped a lot of games in between. Like sort of the OG MKs and me playing those retro games over to now. When MK9 got released, Oh, I was so hyped because I was like, oh, I remember this playing this as a kid, and look, it's got all the guys there. Like all like if you look at the MK9 roster, it's kind of goated. Like it's got a lot of good characters.
Arguably the best. Like
yeah, absolutely. And then Freddy Krueger came in. That was weird.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, that was the beginning of a lot of things that I wasn't going to be okay with. But like, let's move on.
Yeah, but like, so the funniest thing for me was trying to convince my parents to get MK9 for me because I was like, yeah, like I want to get MK9, and they were looking up like footage of the game. This is when like they started to like pretend to care about certain games that I played. Like I was never a GTA kid. Like I wasn't allowed to play GTA, which honestly, bless my parents for. I feel like GTA would mess up some kids.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but like they were like, I really don't like what this girl's wearing, and I don't like that you can rip out her spine or something like that, like some awful stuff. And then I was like, here, hold on, let me boot this up, and I just booted up like the old game and did pretty much that. And they're like, "Oh, you've been doing this for years. All right, we'll get it for you.
Yeah,
no problem."
No, don't get me wrong. X-Rays changed everything when it came, came to MK9. They changed a lot of stuff when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Oh my god, yeah, for sure.
Like brutality and violence or gore, like was escalated to a new level in MK9. But anyways, I definitely understand the relationship there.
Yeah, so MK9 came out, played that. I played that. I put so many ungodly hours into that.
Who was your main?
Yeah, Smoke.
You were a Smoke main? Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you in the unblockable little smoke bomb setup. Oh.
Yeah, I played Jade, and she was like the worst character, but I was beating everyone with Jade. So to me, I didn't care. Like back then, I just wanted to play the character I liked. And then near the end there, I think I picked up Baraka, and then I just didn't play. Because he didn't show up last in MKX, did he? Yeah,
Baraka, no, he wasn't in.
He was a like side character. There was a lot of uproar that Baraka wasn't back.
Baraka's kind of OD with the arm claw things.
Yeah, well, dude, that's what I'm telling you. When I was a kid, my cousin used to just spam that move, and I didn't know you could jump over it. So like, I was like, this is bullshit.
I was a Baraka main in MK2 because I would just spam that in the arcade mode, and
no one knew how to handle it.
Yeah.
If you knew how to do one projectile, you just gotta like take 2 steps back, and do it.
Exactly.
So MK9, that's MK9 came the best for sure.
And then from there, I was just kind of like following it. So I played MK9, MKX came out, played MKX, and I just kind of like followed the scene for a while. I was kind of in and out. This is when I kind of like just graduated like high school and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had like kind of just like the dark ages where like everyone in college pretty much just played Smash.
Yeah.
And like as much as I love Smash, like I'm not going to play it for like 4 hours straight. So, I kind of had like the dark ages in college where not a lot of stuff happened, but as soon as I got out of college, I got straight back into it like full force. I bought like Street Fighter immediately, played Street Fighter 5, had a pretty good time with it.
You did?
Dragon Ball happened.
And
when Dragon Ball happened,
okay,
Dragon Ball, I would say, is the first fighting game I ever took seriously.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Dragon Ball FighterZ was the first game because this was the first time I was ever learning like what is a fuzzy. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
he's not fuzzy. Or like what all these like gaming terms and stuff like that. Dragon Ball kind of introduced me to a lot of that stuff, and then I relearned all of this stuff actually because Dragon Ball is such a special case when it comes to a lot of things. But yeah, I played Dragon Ball since season 1 all the way, and I kind of stopped at season 3. But that game will always have a special place in my heart.
Who's your team in who was your team before you stopped playing in Fighters?
So my last team was Kefla.
Okay.
It was Piccolo, and then it was usually Android 21. But sometimes if I'm feeling like a bully, I'd swap into a Z Broly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I pretty much had the same team the entire time out. I played Hit, Piccolo, and Android 18. It's been like the same. I've pretty much played the same team for pretty much the entire time. But I didn't get into it as much. It was more of a casual thing for me. That was, like Dragon Ball Fighters was the game we'd mess around with while we were waiting to play our Smash tournament. So like if I mess around with fighters, it was more of a casual aspect. It wasn't more recently that I started getting people calling me out to play fighters. I'm like, you can. I'm trash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But since you put a lot of more effort into fighters, can I ask you a question? Because it's something I've noticed with a lot of people. People who start with Dragon Ball Fighters, I notice have a issue playing certain other games that are a little more slower paced. Do you feel that at all?
Okay, that's interesting because I agree with that sentiment, but I have the opposite problem.
Really?
Yeah. So I played the whole time I was playing fighters. I was like, I like this game a lot, and I love Dragon Ball, but there's something wrong. I went back to Street Fighter V, and I was like, oh, this is what neutral feels like. And I was like, I like that part of fighting games a little bit more. And like, there is neutral in fighters. Like, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying that, but man, when you got a super dash button that can skip half that, you got 5Ms that are like half screen, like there's a lot of tools that kind of skip neutral in a sense. And I realized that playing a slower game allowed me to appreciate things a little bit more. Okay. So when I came back to Street Fighter, I was like, oh yeah, no, this feels like a fighting game. As controversial as that sounds. I was like, this more feels like a fighting game than fighters to me.
So, okay, what game are you comparing to it, though? Like let's say MK. Like MKX was far slower than like I guess we're talking about here talking with fighters. I just feel a lot of people, I don't know how to describe this like fluently. I'm doing a bad job being a host right now. It's pretty much like I've noticed people that the action's not quick enough, and when things like round 2 fight, like it's just so slow paced, people lose their mind, while fighters is so amped up and full fledged. Do you not feel like things drag with some other games?
Absolutely not. That's like a Zoomer thing.
Oh,
that's
maybe that is me.
I feel like, yeah, no, absolutely not. I understand. Like, I have a idea as to what you're talking about, but I never feel like anything's too slow. I haven't played MK11. I heard that's terrible.
Yeah, the game is literally moves like sandpaper. Like, yeah. it's
so I can't comment on that.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that there are certain things about a game that can be fast, and I'm a big fan of Strive, and I still think that for me, it has to be the neutral that slows down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like with fighters, it's like everything is like 20, like times 20 speed.
Yeah, I think that's why people liked it so much. It was super fast paced.
Yeah, and I feel like the neutral in other fighting games is a little bit slower, so it's a little bit more easier for me to like kind of catch up to it and realize what I'm doing, and then point out mistakes. Because I'm a little bit prone to mashing if everything is fast, and mashing kind of works sometimes, right?
Me too. Like I did it with you while we're playing right now. If you see or still listening to this, you'll see that we're playing Guilty Gear Strive with myself, Lumi here, and a buddy of ours named Dark, the other mod in my server, and I'm getting my butt whooped. Later on, you'll see me playing and I'm definitely mashing, but I am like thoughtfully mashing. Does that make sense? Like I know what I'm trying to do near the end there when I'm playing I was doing okay there. I almost got you a couple times.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like, yeah, a good example, Strive is far faster than a game like Street Fighter. Street Fighter is super slow and methodical, where like Guilty Gear is like full-fledged plow through. You know what I mean? I don't know. This is a theory I have. I still think a lot of people struggle going back to older fighting games or more classical fighting games when they play games like Marvel vs. Capcom or fighters, team-based games. I feel like they're just so fast-paced that like a lot of people see some of these other games as really boring almost.
That's kind of a shame.
It is. I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I grew up on retro games, so that the slow gameplay and stuff like that like never bothered me. it was never like
Like
a thing that I was bothered by personally. But
I played a lot of Killer Instinct as a kid, like the original Super Nintendo, and to me, I like that so much more because it was felt like a little bit faster compared to like some of the other ones. Because like I remember charging up a move for like what's his name, the Korean guy Hwoarang. I remember like doing that charge thing where he would like rise his kick and then drop his heel down on someone, and I just remember it would deal so much damage. It was such a satisfying move, and I remember doing that, and that took forever. Then I go back to Killer Instinct, and there's like hyper combo. I don't know, maybe it's just like a mix of everything. There's like a veil that makes these games look a little more intense than some of the others. Because like if you play Street Fighter V right now, don't get me wrong, some of those matches get super hype, but at its core, it's kind of a slow-based game. You know what I mean? Like it's more about footsies and getting in on your opponent, pokes, and like conditioning. It's a very different game compared to say Strive or Fighters. It's very interesting. The different aspects, because those games you're just get as much damage as you possibly can as quick as possible.
Well, I've actually seen a lot of people compare Strive to Street Fighter V, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Actually, I agree with you. Compared to stuff like Rev and Accent Core, 100%.
Yeah.
Those games are way more faster and more complicated, I guess you'd say. But I think Strive is beautiful for people getting into fighting games. I think it's the best game right now to learn a fighting game. It honestly is. Like if you want to learn a fighting game, Strive is great because it's high action, it's fun, very unique characters, and then you can if you like it, we can introduce you to something else and within the gigantic pantheon of fighting games.
Yeah, I'll say Street Fighter and Guilty Gear Strive right now are like the biggest. Like you can take those skills that you learn from that game to any game. I mean, there's always something that you can transfer, but for me, like the adaptation would be a lot easier with certain things for sure. Like being a Fighters player and going into Guilty Gear Strive, I was okay with the damage completely because I was like, oh yeah, in Fighters you get touched like once and you're out of character.
Yeah,
or a team. Yeah, so I wasn't really bothered by like the risk versus reward deal of like Strive. I just like Strive because of like the characters.
Yeah. Oh, they're awesome.
Which is what I felt like was missing with Fighters, because Fighters is just so like homogenous. I feel like every character feels the same.
Yeah, every single character is a rushdown character.
Yeah, well, I mean that's Guilty Gear as well. Yeah. But like it's like the tools that the characters have in particular.
Well,
yeah, for sure.
When it comes to that, when it comes to what is your game, like if you took it in the entire every single fighting game, if someone said what is your game, what do you feel most confident with? Is it Fighters? Is it Strive? Or what's your game? You know, like I guess in comparison, you know how Injustice 2 is my game. You know what I mean? Like what is your game?
I say if you wanna fight me, match me in Strive.
Oh really? So Strive is your go-to game? That's good.
100%.
Nice.
100%.
That's pretty sick. Let's we'll come back to fighting games, but what other games do you play?
Dude, listen, I'm like a turbo nerd. I play like everything. I really like enjoy games that are like important to the sort of general scope of video games. I really enjoy like some retro games, some newer games like Apex and stuff like that can be fun, but like kind of going back to the classics is always a good vibe. Apex, I don't know, I just get angry at my teammates sometimes. But
are you a shooter? Do you still play shooters? Like, is there any certain shooters you get down with at all? Or
oh yeah, for sure.
Are you a Fortnite guy?
Nah, no? I'm not a Fortnite guy.
All right. I feel like I'm the last guy that admits that I still like playing Fortnite. I feel like I'm the only guy left that says it.
Hey man, you're brave.
I guess so.
Salute to you.
He added Cammy, dude. Like I had to get her.
Of course. Yeah. BR wise, I'd say Apex is my game. I liked Apex a lot. I grinded ranked like crazy on Apex. Call of Duty, of course. I like the zombies more than like the multiplayer personally, but it's kind of my deal with that. I enjoy a lot of action RPGs, a lot of the entire Souls games. Like, I mean, we could sit here for hours and talk about what I play and what I don't play, but like, it's basically just what I feel like, which is most of the things in my life. It's just like, what do I feel like doing right now?
Like, you're in front of your computer, I'm assuming right now, right?
Yeah.
Open up your Steam library. I want to tell
I'm
me.
already there.
All right, tell me your top like few games. What are your like? What's most played on your library?
Most played?
In your library, Steam library. Like go to
So,
most recent. Tell me what your most recents are.
yeah, so right now, it's System Shock 1.
Don't even know what that is. Okay, cool.
Yeah, System Shock is so important. It's basically the precursor to Bioshock. Fallout 2,
Okay.
Baldur's Gate, Sonic Mania.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Sekiro,
expecting that
Shadows
one.
Die Twice.
All right, nice.
Street Fighter, all the fighting game stuff.
Yeah,
But,
my most recent, nearly, I would say, 80% of my most recent are fighting games.
I got like Tex Murphy, the Pandora Directive.
Yeah.
Like, I got some bangers on here for sure.
That's pretty dope. All right, so you have been helping me out with stuff with Discord and stuff. And you've been trying to get trying to become like a pretty active member in not only my Discord but part of the FGC and stuff. What's your opinion on the fighting game community as a whole? Like, what do you think about us?
I think it's the best gaming community right now, but it's got so much latent potential that it really needs to get its stuff together.
What do you think we need to do to get there?
I was actually going to ask you that question, but
I have theories. What we can do to do there.
Yeah. Well, let's spitball some stuff because this is probably like my main point that I wanted to make. It's like I just look at other gaming communities. A really good example being like MOBAs, right? So like League, Dota, and the FPS genre. Apex Legends is like popping off right now. Like that's all you see on TikTok and YouTube, right? And I'm just like, literally, why aren't fighting games up there? Like, literally, why? I just keep asking myself why for like a lot of things. I feel like there's just certain things that are missing completely. And some of that
biggest issue, and I think you can agree with this, is the disconnect with not learning that fighting game isn't about winning, it's about learning to get better. And a lot of people want to go into a BR, get a couple kills, and feel like they did something, instead of going into a match, getting completely wrecked, but learning that, like, oh, he does that overhead a lot. I think there's a lot of people can't get over that. Like, you have to lose to like fighting games. Like, that's something you know this. You can't just walk into fighting games and just be godlike. You need to learn to be humble to be in fighting games. Not a lot of people are willing to do that. So there's a big disconnect there. I think that's one of the biggest issues. And especially with the casual audience. Like, casuals will want to walk in. They want to, oh, you know what? I will sit and I will play through Mortal Kombat. I'm going to learn this story mode, and I'm going to mess around with a couple characters. I'll play with my friends. That one fighting game friend's going to come over and beat me, and I'm never going to touch this again. I've been that guy that's ruined games for people, and I don't mean to, you know what I mean? But like, in the back of my mind, I just assume they're going to be mature and adult enough. I'm like, oh, I just want to get better. But to them, it's just not worth the time. They're better off like, well, I could just load up Apex and go kill a couple people, or jump on Hades and run a couple levels, or whatever game they want to play. You know what I mean? I feel it's people aren't willing to do the work to like fighting games, if that makes sense. That's my opinion on it. And because people don't like that aspect and they just think it's too hard, they don't respect it enough to watch or be that interested in it. That's my theory of it.
Mm-hmm. I have similar sentiments to you, Phil, for sure. I will say, on the topic of like, there's kind of like an interesting parallel, because like I'm part of like I research and like look at a lot of like self-improvement stuff and whatnot. Whether I apply that information, it's depending on my mood. But there's like a theory where it's like instant gratification versus delayed gratification. In instant gratification is apparent in a lot of video game genres, and even in fighting games to a certain extent, right? Games are literally designed to make someone feel powerful. Like, this is a really important example. Call of Duty Warzone. They have incentives to keep players playing online and using their game.
Okay.
So what they'll do is, if you're losing a lot, they're going to toss you in a terrible lobby. They're going to toss you against, people that suck, and you'll probably get 10 kills, and you might even win the match. And you'll be like, oh yeah, now it's worth my time because I won.
Yeah.
Not because I'm learning or getting better. It's because I won, right? And that's why I instantly respect people in the FGC a lot as just people, because I can tell that if you're really about it, then you're in this to learn and you're in this to grow. You're not necessarily in this to just get some sort of instant gratification and stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a video game. I'm kind of diving deep, but at the end of the day, it's a video game. If you're not having fun, turn it off. I don't care what you're playing.
Yeah,
right?
No, 100%. There was this... Oof. Well, no, I take that back. I disagree with that a little bit. I didn't really get into it because I was just horrible at it. But I played For Honor for a couple weeks. Dude, I've never been more angry in my life, but I loved that I was angry. I was like, I want to get better at this. I wasn't having a good time, but that was part of the enjoyment of it. I was having a bad time because I didn't know what I was doing and I was losing, but getting into the battle every single time and trying to learn it, that to me is something that's going back to what I said. I just feel like people struggle with that. They don't know how to humbly lose and learn how to get better. For sure. I think that's one of the biggest disconnects, and I will die on this hill.
No, I don't even think you're saying anything controversial, dude. Yeah. I think that's a hill I'll chill with you on that hill for sure. Yeah, because and this isn't necessarily to make the statement that fighting game players are just better, but fighting games are just inherently competitive. And now that gaming is moving towards this sort of competitive scene, there's esports now and stuff like that. You're going to have these legacy players that are just used to seeing the you lose screen, versus these newer players that are coming in and they're getting frustrated because they don't see results immediately. Mm-hmm. For sure. It's fighting games are sort of a delayed gratification. The instant gratification stuff is like throwing a fireball. Or anti-airing with a Shoryuken.
Yeah.
Once you do that for the first time, you're like, oh, I'm in this. I want to keep doing this. Right?
When you learn your first fireball.
Yes. If you don't fall into that rabbit hole immediately, I'm not going to say fighting games aren't for you, but you're kind of just ramming yourself into a brick wall if you're getting angry every time you lose. I've seen that with a lot of close friends, actually, where they'll try a fighting game with me, and they'll lose. And it might be just because I got lucky that round or, I just know more than them. And then they just get completely angry and frustrated. And I'm trying my best to give them tips. But, when someone is in such an emotional state, them receiving tips from the guy that beat them almost seems disrespectful. Mm-hmm. So it's really up to the person that can handle it. I'm going to be honest. I feel like not everyone... And this isn't to gatekeep either, but not everyone can handle losing. And if you can't handle losing, I suggest working on your mental and your mind state a bit.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree there. That's actually a huge issue, I think, with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that's an issue when it comes to fighting games, because the salt aspect is always going to be there. You're going to get angry. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
But there's also, part of it, that's a level of mind games. That's not my style. I'll never do a tactic of trying to piss you off before a match. That's not my style. I don't want to say I'm the way of the samurai, but I'm more of an honorable type of person. I want to shake your hand or give you a fist bump before going. There's a level of respect I want to do. The people, I'm not calling out Low Tier King or fucking Leffen right now, but their style of just trying to mess with you, taunting and just saying you're worthless and stuff before matches, that to me, that just drives me harder to be better. Not mess me up. That doesn't get under my nerves at all. Not even a little. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Which is a whole, like you said, mind state. That's a very interesting thing that people don't even really talk about that much. That's a huge aspect to fighting.
Dude, it's all gigantic. Mental.
Yeah.
Competitive. It's competitive. It's like it's just natural. Like even outside of FGC and video games, like you're going to see this sort of concept everywhere. Sports, stuff like that. It's about mental. It's like, yeah, you're going to take this L, but like get back up, get back in the field. Like, what are we doing here? It's never a loss if you learn something from it. It's corny, but I like to say L doesn't stand for lose, it stands for learn, right?
It's respect. I totally respect for that.
So, yeah, and you know what? You're not going to force everyone to think that way, and that's okay. I don't think we should absolutely stress because we have the audience already. I think the FGC is it could be bigger, absolutely. And I'll be spreading the FGC like wildfire wherever I go because I love it so much. But I'm saying what we have already is massive as a community and as, just a discourse. Now, I will say this. There are people in the FGC already that still don't know how to take a loss, yet they are pro players or they are people that play the games still.
I think there's an aspect to that's just a level of entertainment still.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, if you're putting up a persona for a camera or something like that, but if you're like inviting that much negative energy in your life, like I'm always a preacher of like you're going to carry yourself, and whatever you invite is going to affect you in some way. And if you invite that negative energy, and if you really, it's okay to feel the salt and to maybe throw your controller like Sanford Kelly sometimes, but like if you realize, oh, you know what, I'm gonna get back in there, and that's why I respect Sanford Kelly because he's back in the set. He's gonna run it back. You know what I'm saying? Or even better, if it's Sanford, he's gonna money match you.
Yeah.
So like, that's the thing. There's like a silent amount of respect that I have for people in the FGC because of that. That's just getting deep though. At the end of the day, you could just say it's all video games.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on the Smash community?
Smash. All right, let's get into it. Smash. I've said this multiple times before. Smash is the Silk Road of the FGC.
The what? The Silk Road?
The Silk Road.
Why?
Everyone travels on the Silk Road at some point in their life to get where they have to go. A lot of people's first fighting game, if you want to call it a fighting game, is Smash.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay.
So I actually had a conversation with a buddy today, and he made a comment to me because he's a huge Fighters fan, right? And he's not great at Smash, but he says he's one of the best casuals you ever see. But he made a comment. I asked him, like, do you think Smash is a fighting game? Because that's just always the topic that I feel like I want to ask people. But like, I think it is. That's my own opinion. But he's like, well, duh. Like, if I'm facing, like, he made the comment of literally, if I'm going up against Tweak or like MKLeo, yes, this is definitely a fighting game. But if you're going up against me, no, because I'm going to put bob-ombs and baseball bats as items, and we're going to have some fun. And I'm like, that's such a great thing, because people just crap on that game, but it's a competitive fighting game. It depends on who's holding the controller. And I never thought of it that way, but it's 100% true. Yes, that game is 100% probably made for families, but it's also 100% going to pull some of the biggest numbers at Evo for you. So
exactly. Like we don't gain anything from excluding the Smash community. And like I said, it's the Silk Road. It gets people in the door.
Exactly. I was a Smasher. I'm a NetherRealm guy because of it. You know what I mean? So
I played Melee before I even touched Fighters. Right? I forgot to mention that, but I played Melee for quite some time. But just
was like a low key Melee player.
Yeah, like everyone is low key a Melee or like a Smash Brawl player at some point in their life.
Pretty soon, all this will be Nick Brawlers, so it's cool.
Yeah,
next week, it's like in 2 weeks. Not even
I'm hyped.
The 5th. Oh my god!
I'm meaning Cat Dog. I'm gonna body everyone. It's be hype.
Yeah, my Reptar's gonna rock you.
All right, run the set, Phil.
All right, we'll do it. We're gonna do it.
But on the topic of Smash, it's like a genre of fighting game. It's like, you know how the Naruto Ninja Storm 25, whatever number they're at?
I think
it's like those.
5.
Those are arena fighting games. That could be platform fighting games. Smash. Even if you have bomb-ombs and baseball bats on the stage, it's still a competition where there's two characters fighting. Yeah. That's a fighting game to me.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like,
Mhm.
I just the argument that I hear about it, like, is always the same three things: is either you're a you don't like Smash, you are just trolling, or you're just regurgitating something someone else said. The only person,
Smash, yeah.
yeah, the only other it was actually Lone Wolf 7 was the only person that actually convinced me there could be a fourth. It's just like I just always saw it as a party game because it was next to all the other party games. It was next to Mario Party. It was next to Mario
Yeah,
Kart. I just
exactly.
assumed it was a game. It was a party game.
And you got to think about this too. Nintendo literally like advertises it as a kind of a party game at some points.
Yeah.
They're doing a little better with that now. They realize people
Yeah.
like frame data and,
Yeah.
and like
They have
character
patch notes,
breakdowns,
man.
but-
I'm sorry, they have patch notes now. They
Yeah.
legit. It's a fighting game.
Yeah, they're leaning into it, and that's totally cool. I will say this though: I feel like Smashers live in definitely an echo chamber that can be dangerous.
Yes.
When they step outside and they realize that, like, oh, like snap, I don't.
We are recording this on the eve of the final Smash announcement. So this is the eve before the. We're recording this on the 22nd of September, 2021. So tomorrow is the next reveal for the next Super Smash Brothers or final Super Smash Brothers characters for Ultimate. And you can feel the tension in the world.
Oh, absolutely!
You can feel the tension in the world of who's.
You said it best. Whatever it is, it's going to be disappointing.
Yeah, I know it is. No, there's not a character. I think Waluigi would be the best to make people happy.
But you know it's going to be another Fire Emblem character.
Like, I think Waluigi, Master Chief, or Crash are like their only options to have like some like sense of like agreement amongst the Smash community. But if it's literally anyone else besides those three, it's gonna maybe Sora. It's still gonna be an uproar. It's gonna be bad. Like, I want Lara Croft. I'll be the first one to admit it. I think tomorrow we're gonna see Impa from Hyrule Warriors or
Twilight Princess,
whatever the newest one. Calamity Ganon, Hyrule. Age of Calamity, whatever the Hyrule Calamity Ganon thing is, the Breath of the Wild story there, from Hyrule Warriors done. I think the Impa from that game is going to be the last DLC character, and it's going to drive everyone bonkers. And I want to see the uproar.
Yeah, if it's a Zelda character, I'm chilling. I'm not mad at that for sure.
No, I wouldn't be mad either. But like, there are
I
going to be people who are going to be.
I want it to be a first party, but you know it's a really good chance of it being a third party as well, considering like the last couple DLCs. But
if it's another Fire Emblem character, which I don't think it's going to be, I can see them adding a new Pokemon, and I think that's just going to be as bad. Like, if
it's a new Fire Emblem character, I'm going to troll so hard.
Like,
you'll never hear the end of the day from me.
Now, with that said, I will always be in the boat. I will always accept and want a new character. I'm never going to say no to a new character regardless. We're still getting something. I've already paid for the fighter pass. I'm going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Now, with that said, I feel they should know better than to add a Pokemon or a new Fire Emblem character. This is the final character of one of the most popular games ever. Like, they should have gone out with a bang, and honestly, I feel like they should have they should have saved Sephiroth for the end, to be honest. I feel like they should have just slept on Sephiroth till it was the final last character, because he would have at least had some form of, okay, he is the anime swords fighter. He's the villain from fighting game, or the villain from video games. That's acceptable. Like, maybe Steve could have done it as well, but I just feel like whoever, they set it up for failure. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, I would rather them just release the last three characters like in one announcement.
Yeah.
So that way it's like you have your period of strife and people getting angry, and then when they release, you're like, oh yeah, let's play them. You know, like saving it up and building this much tension for a last character in a game like Ultimate is insane to me. Like, I'm surprised Nintendo's doing it, but it's probably going to draw some eyes. So be like that, you know.
All right. So we've been talking about fighting games. Is there anything about fighting games you want to mention before we move on to the next topic, which I'm assuming is going to cannibalize the rest of our time?
Yeah, I was wondering, Phil, what exactly do you think is missing from the FGC? I remember us talking about that before, but I was curious on your thoughts.
A proper leader.
Really?
Yeah. Max and Wooly kind of take the reins a little bit, but we don't have a figurehead. We don't.
Okay.
If you look at like Fortnite, Ninja was the leader for like 5 years. You know what I mean? Call of Duty, Nick Merckx and the Tatman were the leaders for. We don't have that in fighting games. We may have it a little bit to an extent for like a certain game, like Sonic Fox is the best for like 9 different games. As an example, Justin Wong's kind of a leader, but we don't have someone to really like guide us. Max is, I think, the closest thing we have.
Yeah, I think Max would be the closest, personally.
But Max also will always be the first one to say, "Yeah, I'm just one of you guys." We don't have anyone to like guide us in certain thing, and also really? Max is such a high level when shit like I don't want to call him say he did a bad job because he did exactly what I would do in the situation. But it's also just being a content creator, so you have to be careful what you say. What happened with the Smash community last year? Like he did a video about it, right? And it was more of Evo got canceled is what he talked about, and it's like, and he was like, pro players are not the FGC. It's all of us are the FGC, and like he needed to make that video for us, you know what I mean? But like he also played the politician a little bit there. I think we need some people that are willing to like guide us, and I think that is a huge thing that we have a lot of chiefs and not enough people, and too many people not listening to the other chiefs. Does that make sense? So
I mean, I think that's why you and I are making content to a certain degree, right? Like,
I 100%. But I guess I'm more like Max in that aspect. I'm not that great. I think I would be a good like sparring partner for somebody. Like if Sonic wanted to hit me up, let's go. I'll do combo strings for you so you can learn how to block them. I got you. But like if I went to Evo, I'd get wrecked. If I went to any major tournament, I'll probably get wrecked. Injustice is the only one that I'm okay at. You know what I mean? And like I know Max was pretty decent at Marvel vs. Capcom for a while there, and I think he got to like floor Celestial in Strive. I haven't got to Celestial in Strive. I would love to get to Celestial. I also haven't been able to play video games since I became a content creator, which is a whole other issue, and I'm sure you know very well.
Yeah,
but
I agree to disagree on that point in particular.
I just feel like we don't have the people. Like we have too many people screaming at the top of the lungs what needs to be fixed, but they're not actually doing anything to put the right step forward to make things happen. That's a few things that I have an opinion on. But what about you? What do you think needs to be done to be fixed?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I answered this before. I got terrible memory, but basically, like, I'm here to prove a point, personally. I'm not a pro player. I never will be. Although I think I'm good at fighting games, and I think that, like, naturally, I've never played Tekken 7 in my life. I'll hop on Tekken with, a pro player and play some games, because, it's all fun at the end of the day. I would love to do that if I had the opportunity to get introduced into the scene that way. I'm here to prove a point that you don't necessarily need to be a pro player in order to sort of make content and present value to an audience. Because I feel like a lot of the FGC, I like that it's about the games right now. I think most of the content coming out is about the game that is being played in question. However, a lot of it, I see a lot of clip channels out there. I love all of you, okay? Love all the pro players too. Some people can't talk in a mic. I'm going to be honest. It's rough out there. I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying I'm any better right now, but I'm working towards those skills more than just being a pro player or getting good at a game. Because I feel like that's what the FGC needs. The FGC needs content creators that they're going to play the games for sure. But what they're also going to do is they're going to present the FGC to people outside of it and be like, hey, if you want a sneak peek of what's going on inside, like, let me show you what's up. Let me show you the ropes. There's a reason why there are degrees. I'm going to like relate this to computers for a second. But like there are degrees that are literally just for language and translating all the code and Tick-Tock into like, English, right? There's a reason why that's a skill. And I think the FGC is kind of missing out on that. I feel like there's not a lot of people that can translate well or really bring people in.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me personally. I want to do that for this community, and
Like,
I
I'm
want
not
to
a
do
pro
it through
player.
content.
I'm definitely a content creator who's not a pro. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm hoping I have a background like in stand up and sketch and stuff, so like I can harness some skills I've learned elsewhere and put it forward. Not everyone else is lucky. So, but like we don't always need people to like be the best at fighting games to enjoy the content. Like you've already proven to me that you've been able to take like you're meshing D&D and fighting games together right now, which is beautiful. Which is all fighting game people will admit we're pocket nerds too. We want to do that stuff. It's super interesting to us. Like there's very few people who don't want to like if you're playing a fighting game, you like hype shit, and there's a decent chance you want to be the person actually fighting in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So, like, if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, like you're a DM and you've played Dungeons and Dragons before, this is perfect. Mm-hmm. You actually can imagine and play out the scenario of you kicking someone's ass. It's beautiful. Oh, yeah. It's exactly it. And while we're on the topic of that, I'm going to transition into this. You're pretty big into Dungeons and Dragons. Is that true?
Damn straight.
All right, so let's get into that. What is your Dungeons and Dragons origin story?
So my origin story is we're sitting in my friend's basement, and we got the starter set with the Lost Mines of Phandelver, and we're sitting around, and I'm like, yo, I really want to play this. Can we like get together and play this? I think it was my friend that owned it. I didn't even own the starter set. And everyone was like, yeah, that sounds pretty lit. Let's check it out. So we check it out. We play like just a first shot with the friend that was DMing. It was the first time ever playing. Everyone in that basement was playing for the first time. Even the DM was DMing for the first time. Mm-hmm. He just happened to have like the most experience with like, you know, what D&D is like and how it works, right? So we played that, and I just absolutely loved it. It was just an opportunity for our friends to do something else than like play Smash Brothers all the time, right? So I really like just dove in head first because I was like, okay, I want to like learn the game and how the rules work, because we were playing pseudo D&D. We weren't really playing like actual D&D. And I actually have I'm pretty adamant when it comes to like certain rules in D&D. Get to that a little later. But like, I was like, I want to learn the rules of the system. And once I started reading the player's handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide, never went back. Never looked back. I dove in head first. I was drowning in information and rules and all this stuff, and I was just thinking of like the possibilities. It was like I'm a big daydreamer personally, Phil. I daydream all the time. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I do too. I can relate to that so much. Like I'm a mailman, so like most of my day is just blank space in my brain thinking of stuff. And I've written like there's days in the back of my brain I've written 4 modules for D&D of story arcs I think would be cool for people to go through and explore. I love that stuff. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I have ideas at like 3 a.m. Like I'll wake up from a dream and I'm like, I need to write this down. Like, and then I realized now D&D is an outlet for that. I can express how I'm feeling in certain ways through Dungeons and Dragons, through the characters I make, the storylines that are built. And it wasn't until I want to say recently that I kind of was awakened to the fact that it's a collaborative storytelling experience, which made me love it even more because there's more cooks in the kitchen, so to speak.
Oh, for sure.
For the longest time, I always thought it was like the DM's job to do a lot of things. And now I would say in the past like 2 years, I realized that like, you know, the DM kind of he's just like there to like make sure the game's run. Like the players run most of this stuff. Like, let's be real.
Oh,
they're going to be the ones that are talking
or
to the goblin.
A complete headache for you.
Exactly. But yeah, I just fell in love. I was like, there's just a creative output that I needed in my life, and D&D was that, so I dove headfirst because it was probably one of the first creative outputs that I like felt meshed with me. I always wanted to write. I always wanted to express myself creatively in some way, and I figured out that Dungeons and Dragons is just perfect for me to do. So yeah.
That is I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was 13. I think it was my first official campaign.
Wow, yeah.
And so I've been playing for 20 years now. Played Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going on 2 decades, and I've had some of my best friends in the world were because of campaigns. I haven't, but the biggest issue with me, I think the biggest like final boss of any game in Dungeons and Dragons, any campaign, the final boss is it's not the Tarrasque. It's not. It's time management between you and the players. Scheduling a play session is the biggest challenge. That was the hugest thing for me. It's a huge dedication to time, and that was my biggest issue while playing. Because every time I ever try to play with a bunch of people, it just felt like no matter what we tried to do, it just like every campaign I ever run or every campaign that I ever joined was destined to not finish. Like that is something I felt because like you go strong for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then one person doesn't show up, and then the next week someone else doesn't show up, and the week after that 3 people don't show up, and then you're just you and Larry, and you're like, what do we do here? That's always bothered me. But I got introduced into it for real because all the early campaigns I played with my cousins and stuff, and it was all goofy and weird and like family stuff. But the first campaign I ever did, I made a character named Keg. He was a dwarven hunter or a ranger, and he was just an idiot. And
Awesome.
I had like a pet pig. It was a whole bunch of fun stuff. I really liked it. But what about you? What is your favorite character you've created, and your favorite personality or role playing have you gone into?
Favorite character. So my favorite character is the character I'm playing right now.
Really?
Yes, and my character's name is actually Luminous. So that's kind of where I got my name.
Oh, by the way, congratulations on the rebranding.
Thank you. I way too many people have the name Xeno, so I was like, you know what, it's Luminous time. Let's do it up.
Yeah. You also already got a new nickname from Luminous, which is awesome. Lumi, all the way. That's your name forever now.
Yeah, shout out to Sharpie. That was
hilarious.
But I was like, yeah, my favorite character is the one I'm playing right now, actually, because it's one of the first characters that I actually got to really explore and have an arc with, and it's my first evil character, and so it kind of requires a lot more from me than just like I'm a dumb dwarf that's gonna, not that your character's bad in any way, but like there's more. I wasn't necessarily invested in the characters that I had made before, but now since I've taken this character from literally level 3 to level 12, like there's a large investment. I spent months, almost a year, just playing this character. So I've really got to like grow with this character, know this character, and represent myself in a certain way with this character. So I think that's just an awesome thing about playing a character. It's just you get to express something about yourself or some idea in a particular way. And with Luminous, he's actually a wizard, a fire genasi wizard. My biggest thing for me was I wanted to display my negative traits, my negative personality traits. It's kind of therapeutic in a way. It gets a little deep.
Oh, I understand that so much. My favorite character I ever played was a cleric. I started off as a cleric. By the end of the campaign, I did a lot of different things, but I played a cleric, and I was a lawful neutral cleric, and I got to explore. He was essentially that one like angry father that like hated everything. It was like, no, you need to do what you're told because that's what tradition tells us to do. I played that character, and dude, I learned stuff about myself. I was like, whoa. Like, I said something to an elf once. I was like, wow, did I actually just say that out loud? Like, and everyone at the table is just like, Phil. Dude. Like, I'm like, sorry, I'm in character. I don't know what to tell you.
So like low key, like I still kind of said that.
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
but my character said that. You know,
it was to a girl. There was a girl, and she was cute. I was kind of hitting on her a little bit while we were playing, and I said that to her because her character was the complete opposite. I'm a lawful neutral cleric. She is a chaotic neutral.
Chaotic.
A chaotic neutral, a barbarian. I'm like, there's nothing I'm doing here that's gonna. We are not supposed to agree at all on anything, and it was just crazy. Like it's you. If you, I don't know how into role playing you get into, but like I really like. I had to like calm down a little bit because I felt a little bit uncomfortable at times. I felt so into it. I was like, man, I've literally turned into this character a little bit. It was weird. It was the first time I ever experienced that.
Yeah, for sure. I don't do a lot of voices.
Oh, I don't do that, but I was being the person. I wasn't being Phil. I was being the personality of Crucible, the character.
I feel like it takes a little bit of like a warm up period, but once I like, I'd say like 30 to an hour in on the session, I'm like full Luminous mode.
Nice.
And I'm like, I'm just the wizard that values knowledge overall. And, you know, it's kind of a traditional thing, but when you're new to role playing, I always preach that you need to do something simple. And that it's okay. Tropes are tropes for a reason. And Luminous is the power hungry wizard that, you see all the time.
Yeah.
But it's the way you portray that, and it's the way you get to play it. It's like, I'm not playing every power-hungry wizard. I'm playing Luminous. How would Luminous do that? You'd probably toss a fireball your way. But, like, and that's what I like about it, because I always preach this. New to roleplay, always pick something simple. I picked a Fire Genasi wizard that specializes in fire spells. I was like, I'm going to be like Zuko. I'm just going to be a firebender, and that's going to be like my shtick, basically. Mm-hmm. And over time, that develops into something more. But starting with a little, and I think this goes for like life in general. You start with a little bit, and then you get to grow from there. It's not, like, I kind of cringe whenever I see people that make backstories that are like 12 pages long. Because I'm like, there's no way you're going to be able to express all of those things and give all those things attention properly. Not unless if you've been playing this game for like, all of your life. So yeah, that's my little Justin wisdom right there for sure.
I always felt like backstories like should be bullet points. Does that make sense? Like whenever I play this character, I think bullet points because it allows your DM to have more fun with it. Because if you like to say like this is like I remember I did exactly what you said, and I wrote like a crazy story where I was like, I'm like the son, like the bastard son of this and this of this region of this, and I gave no room, like zero room to the dungeon master at the time, and I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that at all. And now looking back at it, like, I'm happy I did it because I learned from it, obviously. But now, like, when I make a character, I try to make the character as vague and open as possible. And I've tried to make more of my characters now based more off of my personality, like Phil's personality, so I can be more me. I guess, like, now when I play D&D, I try to make Phil, but as Phil as cool as possible. Does that make sense? I just want.
You still want to be a badass. You don't want to be you don't want to be Phil, regular Phil. You want to be Phil with a samurai sword that can chop an ogre in half or something. Yeah, you want to be something super cool.
There's only been one time I've ever enjoyed playing like a melee character, and I forgot what it was. We did an aquatic campaign once. That was really cool. And,
throwing tridents all around.
I played a Darfallen, which is like the Orca people.
Yeah.
And I played, I forgot what they're called. They're from 3.5. They're like essentially monster hunters. Like, you're like, you have certain, anything big, you're jumping at them. Like, it doesn't matter how big they are. Like, I'm killing this thing. Anything big, you just, that was my whole personality. It didn't matter how big. Did you ever play World of Warcraft?
Not really. Like once or twice.
Like, there's this one part where this one guy just literally jumps onto this gargantuan elemental, and just like, all right, I got this one. That's essentially the character. That's the only time I ever enjoyed playing a melee character. I'm always playing like a healer. I like playing support characters.
Oh, you're very important people. Yeah. So respect.
Like bard, cleric, pally. Like
I'm always the nuker. I'm always the guy that wants to get like the big damage.
Yeah, you're the DPS guy. Respect.
Yeah. I want to one shot you. I don't want to.
Oh, dude, this freaking Darfallen I'm telling you about. His name was Trance. Um, dude,
Trance.
yeah. I made it like he had like the DM was super chill that I was playing with and allowed me to like use anything from like X amount of books, and I'm like, dude, you don't know what you're allowing me to do right now.
And you said it was 3.5?
Yeah, the most broken.
Oh, that's
like he allowed all of the books, like the like complete adventurer, complete like
allowing all the books is jeez.
Yeah. So like I'm sitting here going through like I was able to like go in with a giant great axe, and I could like I think like my max damage was like 280 something, and I was like level 12. Like
wow, yeah.
It was bonkers.
Min-max crazy.
Oh my god, it was so much fun. That was I think it's that was a special time in D&D. Like people like hate 3.5 because of that reason, but I had a lot of fun going through all of the books and trying the best way to min-max everything. I loved it, dude. It was super, super fun to me.
Yeah, I feel like that presents really interesting choices. I feel like in D&D, especially 5th edition, it's like there's times where like it feels like you're good at everything, you know? 3.5 was very much so like you're good at like a couple of things, but like you're really good at those things, you know?
I think I want to get you in touch with there's a local dungeon master in my area. That's like his thing. He's like huge on Twitter. He's like a ton of people contact him. He's like actually a very well renowned like dungeon master. And he's trying to get here on TikTok, and you know how TikTok is. It's so fickle. It's so hard to get into.
Oh yeah.
And he said this for years. He hated playing 3.5. He hated it because when you play 3.5, you took away the experience for min-maxing, or you're taking away from you're putting too much time into your character than what you're supposed to be doing, which is the experience of the game.
Yeah.
And after he said that, that made me think. So I'm like, I'm no longer going to make characters to be min-max. I'm going to be making characters for flavor, and that's how I've been doing it ever since. And
it's the way to go.
I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you in touch with them. I think you'll get along.
Let's hit my line. Let's do something. I could definitely teach it. I have been very lucky to build the following that I have currently, mostly off of D&D actually.
Really?
I did a lot of D&D content, and I was never really a skit guy, unfortunately. I'm always more of like an informational guy. Like I just love putting out those little nuggets of wisdom. And like you've been playing more than I have, but like I'm just when I'm telling you like I deep dived into D&D, I'm doing like a lot of stuff.
No, that's good.
So
I'll tell you right now. If we play like 5.0 right now? I would need you to help me make my sheet. Like that's how clueless I am right now.
yeah. Luckily, 5e is probably one of the easiest additions to get into. But yeah, I noticed that on TikTok, like I was just like, there's all of these popular guys on YouTube, like Matt Colville, WebDM, and stuff like that. They put out amazing information, but it's like 30 to 40 minutes each video. And I'm like, I love what you guys are doing. It's great, but I'm gonna distill certain things into like a minute. Because I guess going back to like the start of this podcast, that's just I value that. I value time a lot, and I think TikTok, you save a lot of time sometimes.
No, I agree completely.
I was like, I would drop like some homebrew rules that I use. I would drop like tutorials on how to run monsters a certain way, just to make sure that the party doesn't one shot like the beholder that you've been planning on running or something like that. And any idea I had about D&D, I would just kind of spitball into a TikTok, and it slowly developed from there. And the community of D&D on TikTok is actually massive. Like, it's big, and I'm lucky that I even have like a small foothold. Like, there are guys that have been posting since probably like the creation of this app. Like, that's how far back it goes. And they do awesome stuff. So
yeah. Well, speaking of valuing time, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to value both our times, and we're already past an hour, right? Almost at $1:10 already. Is there anything anywhere people can follow you? Where can they follow you right now if they wanted to add you on everywhere? Where should they go follow you right now, Lumi?
So on TikTok, my TikTok handle is Luminous FGC. Go look that up. I do pretty much a video every day, D&D and fighting game related. On Twitter, you can follow me on. My name is Luminous on there as well, but my @ is some call me JP. I do have I have a YouTube that is also just Luminous as well. I'm going to be definitely uploading a lot more onto there at some point, especially with all the tournaments and stuff going on. And yeah, I think that's it. If I'm looking at my list here, yeah, that's definitely it.
Dude, that's awesome. Lumi, thank you so much for doing this with me, dude. I know this has been a progress to get us to this point, but I thank you so much for joining me today. I feel like we had a great conversation. Is there anything you would like to say before we get out of here?
Play fighting games. Just play fighting games.
Sounds good. Once again, Lumi, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
And that's gonna do it. Don't forget to follow Luminous pretty much everywhere that he just mentioned. And don't forget, I am on Twitch every Tuesday and Sunday. Come and hang out. I also have a FGC Tic-Tac account, so if you want to see some more sketches, go check me out there. I have a Patreon account, so if you are in the good way where you can support the channel, feel free. If you like the video today, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And of course, I'll talk to you guys soon.